Okay, let's start the meeting. Rise for the pledge to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to everyone tonight to be here. What a beautiful day it's been outside. I need more of these. That's right. So, right off the bat, do you all have had the minutes? Do you approve? Have any concerns on that?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the last workshop. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll make it, right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Further
Second.
discussion? If not,
You gotta
You
do
got
it.
a roll call.
Got a roll call, baby.
Tucker, how do you vote?
Ruff, aye.
Oh
Mr.
my
Winger.
stars.
Yeah.
You just now saw Tucker.
Mr. Roberts?
Aye.
Mr. Plaster votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. First item on our agenda for action, Danforth as appropriation and so forth of the health department.
Good evening, I'm back again. This is a continuation of the public health nurse moving from the personnel line to the contractual line. I'm asking to appropriate $16,500 from 1159 cash to 1159 contractual. This will cover any overtime, training, and travel we would require for the position once hired. We do have 2 interviews set for tomorrow for this position.
So this is a true appropriation.
Correct.
So we need to have a hearing to officially take care of this. So we'll open a hearing to consider the appropriation as requested by the health department. Does anyone wish to have any comments on the request? Hearing none, do we have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing is closed. Any questions on the appropriation that the health department has requested? If not, do we have a motion to approve the appropriation of the $16,500?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the appropriation. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just
Motion
happy
passed.
that you've already got 2 interviews when that job's been posted.
Yeah, we had 3 applicants and 1 actually declined an interview, found another job, so it moved very,
It
very
moved
quickly.
quick. I'm glad. Good
Appreciate
for you.
that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Then we have a salary ordinance amendment we need to take care of. Amendment number 2025-05. It's a nurse, I think.
He did.
Okay. We have, I think that goes with
It's
this.
just
You want
that.
him?
No, I don't think so. Unless somebody's got a specific question. We've talked about
We've
this
talked
in the
about it.
past, and so this is just amending the salary ordinance to fit the action that we've taken on this position. Number 2025-05. We have a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve ordinance, salary ordinance 2025-05.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the salary ordinance amendment 2025-05, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Items for discussion. Valerie, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you for having me today. I'm here to discuss the Housing Accelerator Program. This is a program that was launched by the EDC in early 2025. We discussed this back in 2024, where we shared some information about the need for new housing across Wayne County. Just as a quick refresher, in December of 2023, the EDC updated our housing study, which indicated that we needed 450 new housing units per year over the next 5 years to keep up with demand, both for new modernized housing, but also for replacement housing for dilapidated and blighted homes that are being removed from our housing stock. And so we created the Housing Accelerator Program to do just that, accelerate the development of building lots in platted unfinished subdivisions that we knew existed all throughout the county. But we also knew that the cost of infrastructure was a barrier for developers to start finishing those subdivisions. And so the intention was to earmark $500,000 from the Consolidated Edit Fund, which we did, launch the program. We received 9 applications for funding. Those 9 applications totaled a request for $1.96 million. The requests totaled 148 single-family homes and 72 multifamily homes. However, multifamily was not a criteria that we accepted, so it was a miscommunication with the applicant. So of the applications, there are 5 eligible projects that met all of the criteria of the program and can move forward. And so in meeting with both the scoring committee and then later with Commissioner Dwenger, we felt as if we could get more projects started if in fact we offered $10,000 per lot rather than the up to $250,000 per subdivision, so that we could spread development out across the county and create more diversity of housing stock and diversity of neighborhoods. And so with that math, we actually need about $820,000 in order to fund those 5 projects, because there's 82 building lots that would result in 82 homes in total among those 5 subdivisions. And so with $500,000 allocated, we do have a gap of $320,000. And in our meeting with the commissioners, they felt strongly that they could support the Mears Estates project because it is in Wayne County's jurisdiction. It's the only project in an unincorporated area that qualified and applied. And that project is 17 homes, resulting in $170,000. So that leaves a funding gap of $150,000 that my executive committee discussed today and felt like we could allocate another $150,000 from Consolidated Edit to maximize the program and fund the 82 lots. And so I'm here today to ask council's support for $170,000 from the County Edit Fund towards this project, with an additional allocation of $150,000 from the Consolidated Edit Fund.
I would add that the commissioners have discussed this at great length. Mr. Dwenger was involved in some of the conversations on the rules of implementation. If you'll remember, as part of the HELP program, the county had originally allocated $1 million along with the $500,000 from Consolidated Edit towards a similar project. And as the timeline worked out, we ended up not being able to specifically allocate the money to projects in the time frame that we needed to. Had to be all committed contractually by the end of 2024. So we took that ARPA money and allocated it to other projects with the idea that eventually we would come back to that out of County Edit. And there is plenty of money at the moment in County Edit to be able to support this project, and particularly at the $170,000 level, which we're recommending to council that you do approve this tonight and approve the advertising of the 2 additional appropriations, $150,000 from Consolidated and $170,000 from Wayne County Edit. Brad, anything to add? You were in on those discussions.
Not really, other than the fact that, I'll just reiterate how important that these lots of buildable houses or lots to have houses on them are critical to our growth in Wayne County. Having 82 new buildable lots in Wayne County, and part of the process was to have each one of these subdivisions, they must have a spec home on the market or being built at all times is critical. And I don't know if Val said, but we have one in Cambridge, one in Centerville, and the 3 in Richmond. So we have a spread across the county of hopefully new homes coming in. So it's very important to have this approved and get going.
Do you want to talk briefly about the clawback provisions, or Valerie, just to get that on the table?
Yes.
Val, you can go ahead.
Okay. So to piggyback off of what Brad was saying, I'll just point to page 3 of the overview. You'll see a map that shows the number of housing units spread across the county. And what's unique about this is we'll have 41 homes in Richmond and then 41 homes outside of Richmond spread across Centerville and Cambridge. So it's great to have housing stock all across Wayne County and not just concentrated in one area. But the EDC attorney, George Sowers, he just got me a first draft of the incentive agreement that we would be working with developers to sign, that I will, once I review and provide my feedback and that is implemented, we'll get that to Ron to review and distribute amongst all of you so that you can have some input. But essentially, because we're granting $10,000 per lot, at the end of the time period to build the homes, which would be the end of 2029, if the developer is short in completing homes, we would claw back $10,000 per home that they're short, so that we are funding the amount of homes that we intend to with the program.
Just to reiterate, we're actually then funding homes.
Homes, yes.
Homes constructed, not lots prepared for sale.
So the
So it's
intent is
basically
to,
a reimbursement.
We're going to provide the funding up front, and if they don't complete all the homes, they'll have to pay it back.
yeah, so we'll work it the way we do the edit grants, whereas the developer has to show expenditures equaling the amount of the grant, and then that will be reimbursed, but it's still on the front end of the project. So for example, Mears Estates is $170,000. Once they expend that, they can get that reimbursed right away, and that will help them continue with the build out of the infrastructure. So the intent is to create the lots, but as Brad indicated, within the agreement, we will state that based on the size of the project, they will have to have 1 or 2 homes under roof at all times. So we do have speculative homes for sale in addition to building lots for sale to build a custom home. And so we will require annual reporting. I think that's good for us and for them to know how they're staying on track and completing the project within the time frame we identify. And then, yes, everything has to be completed by the end of 2029. Those are the stipulations within the agreement.
Val, if I could add too, we also said that if somebody comes in and builds a house in a subdivision, they cannot sell a lot next to them. You know, but somebody wants a bigger lot. No, it's the 10,000 per lot. They can't sell the lot to the owner next to it.
Yes.
So that we want buildable lots with houses on them.
Exactly.
So no, they can't buy 2 lots to build 1 house on.
Well, technically, we can't
Correct.
prohibit them from selling the lot, but they would have to pay us $10,000 back if they did that. So they would have to take that into consideration.
Good.
I'm glad to hear this is all going forward. Every meeting we've been in the last, 10 years, all we've heard is we need homes, we need homes. So it's nice to see it actually
Well,
happening.
of all the projects that the EDC is working on when it comes to housing, including this program, if everything moves forward as planned, it would result in 721 new housing units, approximately 389 multifamily and 332 single family. So we're making great headway, but nothing's moving fast enough, right? Because we need these under construction.
And even with those, we won't be meeting the number that the housing study indicates we need.
Right, we'll be just shy of a 2-year supply based on their projections.
Would you like a motion?
I got a question.
Okay.
The $10,000, end result, would that be a benefit for the buyer of the home, or is that just profit for the builder?
Yes, the intent is to keep lot prices and home prices lower within the ranges identified in the housing study for the size of homes that they're building.
Of the total infrastructure expense per lot, on the average, what percent is the 10,000 of?
So I don't know that exactly. However, they could qualify in the application. We wanted it to be below 7% of the total. But I'd have to go by
Includes
project by
the house
project.
construction, right? That includes the building
Yes.
of the house.
Actually, it's in the overview. So if you look, the requested amount, it shows the percentage of the overall project. However, no one's getting fully funded, so it would be a reduction of that percentage.
And I think it's important to say that this is to finish existing subdivisions to build them out so they have buildable lots. So it's to go to sewer, water, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That helps them be able to have the lots ready to be shovel built.
So I saw this on the agenda, and if there was an email that came through, I didn't see it. So this is the first time I've even heard about this program, and I'm very uncomfortable. I can either abstain or I can vote no.
All we're
So-
asking you to do today is authorize advertising the additional appropriations.
That's the only vote that we're asking for.
We cannot appropriate the money because it has to be
It has to be
advertised before we can approve the funding. So if there's enough time, will this be ready to act on at our May meeting?
It can be if you're ready to act on it. And that would be the preference from the
That would give me time
EDC,
to
I
do
think.
some more research. Okay.
So it would be 2 weeks.
So we're approving the concept, basically. There's, nothing will happen unless the money's appropriated and approved at the May, first meeting in May.
Now, you say nothing, but there's already 500,000 appropriated. and so
Yeah, you've already
they
started.
can-
Right,
They
right.
could go ahead with this.
Absolutely, right,
This would be the additional funding that's requested.
yeah.
And just to let you know why there's more is that when I sat down with the EDC, I said, let's get as many buildable lots as we possibly can throughout the county. Originally, they were going to use the 500,000 and that was it. But that did not include the subdivision in Cambridge City. And I thought that was extremely important to have one in Cambridge City and one in Centerville. So we figured out that we lowered the amount that we were going to give to 10,000 per lot so we could add those two subdivisions in.
Well, I think that's important that we spread this out through the county rather than just in Richmond, so.
Well, I do have a quick question for Valerie. So with some of the blight properties that the cities had and they've taken down the house and that, are we working towards putting any new housing in some of those spots?
We are, yes, we have
Not just in a housing addition, but fill in some of those.
Yes, we are working with a housing developer right now that is interested in acquiring 21 building lots from the Blight program that are either being held by Habitat for Humanity or the Richmond Housing Authority to build new homes in the Vale neighborhood.
Okay. That's good, thank you.
Any other questions? Then yes, Beth, we're ready for a motion to
I'll
move
make a
forward.
motion that we advertise 170 from county edit and 150,000 from consolidated edit towards this project.
So clarification, it's not just 100, how much are we, how much is your?
170,000 from county
County
edit
edit.
and 150,000 from consolidated edit.
What's the balance in county edit at the moment? You know?
3.5 million.
Yeah.
It's large.
It's
I've
really
got
big.
a sheet here, but
I'll second Beth's motion.
is there any further discussion on the motion to proceed with advertising these two appropriations? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, so that will get advertised and we'll act on the appropriation at the meeting, our first meeting in May. While you're here, do you have,
Thanks,
any-
Val.
you have anything else for us, Val?
Nope, that's it today.
Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thank you. Mr. Higginbotham.
All right, you have before you your bi-weekly project sheet. This time we always talk about the annex generator, the part that we've been waiting on has been delivered, waiting on a date now to install that. We still, we've got the existing generator and the new switchgear hooked up so that we're doing testing on that system weekly. Then we do a load test monthly on it, so everything working fine with that, with the way it is, just waiting for the installation of that one part. Nothing new on the fairgrounds parking drainage study. The courthouse front entrance, as you can see, there's been a lot of work done on that project. Have the new handicap ramp poured, and they will pour the landing over there. Plan on doing that Friday. Remember, we're off Friday, and that looks like about the only day that we're gonna have a good window for pouring concrete. But I think they'll get it done because they've got pretty well everything up to that, so it should be a pretty short pour on Friday. With respect to that project, you have before you a paper that looks like this. And you, LWC down in the lower right-hand corner, that's north. So the highlighted area that you see there in the lower right-hand corner, this is a proposed change order that will add a handicap ramp at that curb and just south of that existing bud out that's where that tree used to be. And this will line up with the new handicap ramp. This was not part of the original plan, but once it got poured and we realized that all the handicap parking will shift to the south. And so by installing this ramp here, this will alleviate people having to walk out around that larger bump out planter and to the existing handicap ramp. So I think this is a good safety improvement for those people that will be parking in those handicap spots. The change order for that, they'll have to do a saw cut in the existing blacktop. That on the very bottom end of that highlighted area is a smaller planter that mimics the larger planter, so it aesthetically looks the same. But that is put there so it'll protect someone from parking over the new handicap ramp. So they'll install that concrete planter and then install that handicap ramp, and the change order is for $7,572.75. And I think this is a needed change for safety purposes for the handicap folks.
I agree.
I think the commissioners, we talked about this today. Brad, you've got a chance to look at this. I sent this to you.
I did.
So do you have ample funds in your?
Well, this will be a change order, and I suggest you take it from your one-time expenditures in the lower right-hand corner.
We didn't have a contingency in this project,
No,
did
we
we,
did not.
because it was ARPA? Yeah,
Exactly.
okay,
Exactly.
okay.
That's why each one of these comes to you.
So are you asking then for our approval to
Yes.
take that from our?
I'm trying to subtly
Yes, sir,
suggest
we
that.
are.
I just wanted to clarify.
I would like you to appropriate.
Leading the witness.
I will say, we only had 2 items on our one time this year, and we've already paid them, and I think we can handle this amount.
Yes, we have ample funds to do that,
You're,
and it
you're
appears
welcome to
necessary.
treat him as a hostile witness if you choose to. Usually.
Let's not comment.
Just that again, Steve.
$7,572.75.
Motion, we pay that out of one-time funds.
I second that.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of this expenditure of $7,572.75 from the council's one-time line item? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, and I guess you're good to go, Steve.
I have a question for you about the fairground parking lot. Is that gonna be done before the fair? Is that,
No.
we're not looking at,
It won't
okay.
even be started before the fair.
And I have another question related. I was asked the other night at a meeting, does that in any way impact the gazebo that's there now?
No.
I thought it wouldn't,
fact,
but I
It'll
wanna
be
make
south
sure.
of the
Yeah.
gazebo.
Yeah, it'll be several feet south. It will not impact the usage of it. Might enhance it a little bit.
Yeah.
Then on to back to your sheet, the prox card lock system still continues on schedule. Commissioners will get a look. Remember, we've got to put a policy in place to manage the prox cards. That's been completed. It'll be sent out to all department heads, elected officials. The commissioners will meet with those folks next week during their meeting so that they have a chance to have some input with the commissioners for consideration, so that that's in place. But in essence, there'll be two types of cards. One is simply an identification card that they'll be required to wear to identify them as an employee. Those will not open anything. There's certain employees that don't need access to the building other than during open hours. The other ones will be proximity cards that will be programmed to access certain buildings at certain times and certain doors. And those will be done by the security office. The identification cards will be done by human resources. And then the last project, the courthouse elevator, recall that we did get an estimate for removing that debris. We are in the process of scheduling that with a contract company. They've been down in southern Indiana with the cleaning up from the tornadoes, so they finished with that project, and so they're ready to come here, and it's just a matter of getting that scheduled. And they'll be doing that in the evenings so that it doesn't disrupt the courthouse work through the day.
How long will that process take?
2 days. They come in and they want to come in and they'll set up as removing hazardous material. They set up plastic walls. They're in hazmat. They've got scrubber fans running while they're removing this material because they're treating it as hazardous regardless of what's in it, but it's hazardous material. Any other questions on the list?
Steve, do we need to approve the change order? I don't think we did that because we didn't have the number.
Of the,
The change order that they just, the $7,000.
Oh, yeah.
Pay it, but you didn't.
yeah,
do it,
commissioners
did
need to
you?
approve the change order.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
And they're gonna do it on Friday, right?
Correct. Commissioners, would you like to approve the change order?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and now we will have a roll call vote to hopefully approve the change order. Mr. Dwinger,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Tucker,
It's not there.
Mr. Plaster votes aye, motion carries. Okay, now we
Now
can
we can pay for it.
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
One more thing, if I could have just the commissioners, you have a contract in front of you that I just got this at 4:30, the Veterans Officer, and it is a contract that we do for a couple of years for the software that they process their claims through. And
Retrospect, is that that's the name of the software?
yes,
Okay.
and the contract amount is for $475.94. And I bring this to you tonight because she's kind of on a tight time frame to get this back to them. She was out on vacation for a couple of weeks.
Right. Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract with Tyler for the Retrospect software package, $475, did you say?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Mr. Dwinger, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Roberts?
Aye.
Mr. Plaster votes aye, motion carries.
And then Jeff, if you want to sign your copy.
I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Looking for a signature.
Don't lose it.
Sticker on that, so you know where
Could
to
you?
sign.
Yes.
Just give you-
I'm gonna give it to you as soon as I find,
Remember, Steve, you have to speak up.
Not the second.
there it is, right there.
You didn't highlight the page for him.
Left the sheet out of
Supposed
it.
to have little
Wow.
tabs that says sign here.
Steve, you have
Yeah.
to speak up. He doesn't hear very well.
Eh?
Let me know.
You may put some of these kind of stickers on it.
I want you to go sit down. To be completely honest.
Not till he gets a signed document.
Yeah, he will in just
Because
a
you know what
minute.
happens.
I know it.
Okay,
I can fill the rest
I'll
of
let you
it.
fill in all the rest of it,
Thank you.
since it's just printing.
So, okay, so let's proceed on with Mr. Plaster's remarks.
He said he wasn't
So-
gonna talk tonight, so have you changed your mind?
I have.
Okay.
You thought I might,
I
right?
know.
He didn't tell me that.
I didn't.
You
I
left the
didn't.
room when he said that.
So just a few quick things. One that has been hanging over us for many months, maybe a couple of years now. The hotel payment rate is currently $130 a night. There's very few weeks that go by where we aren't asked to approve a higher rate. We would recommend changing that rate to $150 per night. It has not been increased for many years. We do not recommend increasing at this time. Maybe you can look at it during budget season, but we don't recommend changing the line items available to departments. But $150 is fairly low, and depending on where people are going and staying, we still probably will need to approve changes. But we would recommend changing this motel fee rate to $150 per night without coming to us for special permission.
I would recommend they start staying at Motel 6. It's not always
I don't even
possible.
think you can stay there for $150 now.
It's not possible
Well, if
at a
we're gonna-
conference. I can't, 150 doesn't cover it, does it?
It doesn't
Right.
cover all of it, but it
Not
would
usually.
cover a lot of the changes that we make.
Okay,
That people are pretty frugal,
yeah.
but sometimes it's much more difficult to not stay at a
Yeah.
conference
Yeah.
hotel, and usually they have special rates, but they're not always below $130.
So
We
is,
also look at the per diem as well. I mean.
We
Meals are
certainly
going
can.
down.
The council has typically set the per diem.
I understand that, but I'm just asking, if we're looking at this one, shouldn't we just go ahead and look at the others as well?
I don't know where we are on
We-
that.
We have not taken a position on that. I have no objection to you looking at it. But
We changed that a
Per diem,
couple
Mark?
years ago.
We did.
$50 a day,
$50
It's 50 a day.
and you just raised it. I think it was 35. It was so much a meal. It was broken down breakfast,
Oh, yeah.
and asked to have it one lump.
Correct.
Because I couldn't tell the difference between breakfast and lunch and
Yeah.
times and
usually there's eggs with breakfast.
bacon.
Not all the time.
Gotta
All the
have
time. Not now. Not
So,
now.
so Jeff, are you thinking like if it was 50, just make it 75? Or is that
That's a lot, but I didn't
but that's
realize.
$5
Let's look at it.
We have
I
no
don't
need
know.
Let's look
There's
at
no
it
need to
at budget time.
Try to
Yeah,
just
that's what
touch
I'm
that
asking.
tonight.
Take a look
but
at it.
It can be something that.
So Mark, you say, Mark,
Calendar.
you say it's been raised $250 now?
It is 50 now.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that a couple of years, and Jeff voted against it, just to let you know.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Thank you.
Good job, Jeff.
so I,
Jeff
Frugal.
Kappa, did you hear that?
I did. I can hear
Okay.
him. I've just,
so
He just
Jeff,
can't
I do have a
understand.
question on the 150 rental. Is that the rate less taxes and all that, or is that a total?
We don't pay the taxes.
That's true. So that's strictly just the rate. Okay, you're right.
That's-
Okay. Any other discussion on the request to change the hotel rate to $150?
Motion, we change that to $150.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I just have one question. Are we gonna fall short in budget items this year by doing that, or?
I don't think so. I mean, it's,
Well, I think the bottom
People
line
need
is
to manage
people have
their
been
budget.
requesting the higher amounts anyway.
Yeah,
And they've been
okay,
And
approved, so
we're fairly routinely approving those.
yeah, okay.
You know, we don't
Just at the
send
end of the year,
people
we
to,
might be ready to look at,
there may be requests
Some-
in
yeah.
this budget year for increases, but
depending on what all the people go to.
you know, it's up to the department head to manage
Watch
their
their
budget.
budget, yeah.
Or move it from
Okay.
another line to that.
Okay,
Don't go.
that's my question,
so does
sorry.
that conclude your remarks?
thank you.
No,
Oh, we still have a motion and a second.
exactly.
Oh.
I'm waiting for you to vote on
I
it.
asked a
so
question, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
That's why there
That's
was a
the
lull
purpose.
in my comments.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. It's now $150 per night.
Never saw it.
This is for the commissioners. We've had a request from the town of Dublin, who is applying for some grant money for a water project, and they're requesting a letter of support from the commissioners. So I would ask that the commissioners approve sending a letter of support for the town of Dublin's sewer grant application.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a sec, I'm sorry, I said sewer and I meant water. It's their water infrastructure. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's take a roll call vote. Mr. Dwinger?
Aye.
Mr. Roberts?
Aye.
Mr. Plaster votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Just a couple of other quick things. One being to remind you all that we did in fact cancel the commissioner's deed sale, which was originally scheduled for tomorrow. As we looked at the properties, we think there's a trend now that because we are tearing down more structures that are unsafe, we are receiving more vacant lots. A lot of the vacant lots are not buildable because they're too small for current building regulations. So we have decided to try to work with the city, work with Habitat for Humanity and a few others, other groups. We're looking to building together a program that we funded a couple of years ago. So we will not have a deed sale this year. We also, in working with the Economic Development Corporation, are looking at the possibility of having a land bank that would allow us more latitude in how those properties are managed. But last year and the year before, we ran into situations where we unintentionally owned several vacant lots that we then had to mow and take care of at some significant expense. So we're looking at ways to modify what we do and how we do it so that we can get properties either back on the tax rolls or to people that will put them to use. So there will not be a deed sale. I think I'll stop there, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask those either now or at your leisure.
Randy, do you have something to bring forth to us?
This is primarily for the commissioners moving forward, but also affects the council because of budgetary issues. I've had the opportunity to review the bids for inmate healthcare proposals from both Quality Correctional Care and 3C or Comprehensive Correctional Care based out of Kentucky. Looking at the all factors, including their models, their approach, their staffing, the number of hours provided for the amount that they intend to charge, and they're guaranteed to maintain the NCCHC accreditation. I've selected Quality Correctional Care to move forward with them.
This is your current
Current vendor.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Aside from anything else, they're about roughly $60,000 cheaper than the next competing bid or the only other competing bid. So, but that being said, and then that's where
It's the change, yeah.
this is what is important to the council is that they are just under $100,000 more going into the rest of, or the remainder of 2025 than the previous year. So we will have to address that at some point. I do have sufficient funding in my current budget to continue paying for that. However, we will have to make a decision on how we're going to continue that at some point in the future.
That $100,000 figure, that's just for the rest of this year that you're short?
No, some of that would go into 2026. Yeah,
So
the
for
contract.
12 months,
Okay,
the
that's
12-month contract is 100,000.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it makes it a little bit tricky because the contract term is from May 1 to May 1 instead of what our typical budget year is.
So it's $8,500 a month more, roughly. And over a 12-month period, about 100,000.
My math's not that good right now, but I appreciate
So
your
you've got-
Sounds good, doesn't it?
So you've got 8 months going forward at that increased rate. So $68,000 for the balance of 2025. And I think it's important, even though, you say we can deal with that later, it's important to know
That's right.
that money is going to be available. We're going to sign a contract for that amount. And so I think you all need to be involved sooner than later.
Yes, that's
Why-
exactly why I brought it to your attention.
Why are they increasing? I mean, what's, I know a lot of things are going up, but did they say anything in particular is causing it to be so much more?
No, I mean, well, they did give a nice explanation and a letter addressed to the commissioners, which, I can provide you a copy of that if you'd like, but rate increases and other things have caused that.
And currently, we're at, 800 and,
90 something.
Yeah.
between 8 and 900,000.
And there are other expenses outside that base contract amount. And
That's correct.
That's the base contract.
That's part of the issue, but this is a new contract year. The contract's expired. And the sheriff, I think rightly so, wanted to test the waters, and the other one was probably staffing the level that you want, closer to $1.1 million base.
Yes, that's correct. Actually, I'll have to look at it really quick. But it was over $1 million.
1,000 annualized, but again,
And this is just healthcare, is that right?
Yes.
Does not include dental and eyeglasses, or does it?
No.
Okay.
Dental's a separate fee that's charged. Actually, I don't know what the proper term is, but as needed instead of a blanket coverage.
Okay. Or I said eyeglasses, but optical, does it include that type of thing? If somebody wears glasses and they break or whatever?
No, those are taken off site if needed.
What's the length of this agreement? Is this multi-year or?
2 years.
Is there an escalator in it?
I believe 5%.
For the second year?
That's actually spelled out. And it's all broken down in this contract, yes. So we'll have those figures, concrete.
So for year one, it's about a 12%, 12 or 13% increase, and then a 5% for the second. That it sounds like.
So have you identified the possibility of where you could transfer those funds?
I haven't gotten to that point yet. And frankly, I don't have that much room, but I would have to look at that as we get closer to the end of the year.
Well, if we don't transfer it, it won't get paid. They won't pay out of a line item that's in the red, so you probably need to do that sooner than later. The auditor's
So-
office won't pay that all year without, and put it $68,000 in the red.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you intend that to happen. You intend to come back and get money transferred, appropriate, whatever, to cover it before it would go into the red.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
For
okay.
sure.
That's what
Yeah,
her
I just don't
concern
want
is.
it not to get paid or something, cause we don't get the money.
Yeah.
Put in place.
Right. And then we can obviously, as we look forward into 2026 budget year, we can make the appropriate adjustments.
So I would think it would be probably the best to look at taking care of that at the same time we're talking about the 26 budget
Sure.
and get all that resolved
Sure.
in one discussion. Because everything should be fresh in our minds and we'll be talking about all that finance going forward anyway, so that would be a good time to get that resolved. Any questions? Well, you want probably the commissioners to take action
We'll
on
need
awarding
to
that.
approve the contract,
Yeah.
but I think,
We don't have a contract to approve yet.
you don't have one yet? Okay, so we can,
I think what we
Do
were
we
looking
have-
at, we had a provision in the prior contract for an automatic one-year extension,
Yes.
and it would have been right almost 5%, I think. Wasn't it?
Yes.
So, not terribly surprising, when we decided not to allow that automatic extension to occur, to rebid it, if you will, test the waters with other vendors. We'd hope to have a few more. I think our time got compressed on us, and I think the one takeaway I have is we want to give ourselves a little more, give our market a little more time, particularly for potential new entries into the market. But in any event, QCC, the existing vendor that was going to continue for another year for approximately 5% increase, basically bid in that 5% increase for that next year under a separate contract. It will give us an opportunity, and I'll challenge the sheriff and put our heads together to maybe tighten up the contract at some of the places we're having some expenses that we have an obligation to provide health care at a level that is defined in the regs and in the accreditation standards. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be vigilant.
Absolutely.
so the fact that your recommendation is to continue with the existing provider takes the pressure off a little bit in getting everything signed, sealed, and delivered.
Usually the way, if you recall, it was 2 years ago, we have a base contract they're working off of. I don't know if Lisa's gonna get us one to reply to or not. They provided it, we responded, they modified it to meet our responses. I don't care, we can do it either way, but that seems to work in the past.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So once we approve a contract, we're committed to paying based on the terms of the contract. So I want you all to feel comfortable that you're committing along with us to do that.
Does any of council have concerns about this that need to be addressed tonight? So as we'll plan on transferring whatever we need to do to fund this when we enter the budget discussions, which is not that far away.
All right, so Randy, you and Ron will work on the contract and bring it to the commissioners when you're ready.
And I don't know if you have any recommendations in terms of notification. I can notify both vendors of the decision, and
Yeah, that's fine. And
I'll copy the commissioners as well.
one vendor failed to send us a security bid bond, but so then it came in later this afternoon.
I saw that, yeah.
So we're gonna, it'll work.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right.
FCC's when they signed when we
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Commissioners have any other business this evening?
I don't think so. Steve, do we have anything else? Mark, did you have anything?
Does anyone else have any business to bring up prior to our
So I
adjournment?
had, want to have a little bit of discussion about Senate Bill 1 and just kind of the process that we think. I know that we're seeking guidance to help us on what these numbers look like, and I was sharing with Kathy before the meeting. Depending on who your legislative assistant is, the numbers are all over the place. So, I know Richmond Community Schools had one legislative assistant from, I'll keep the elected official nameless, showing that they were gonna lose $400,000 to $500,000 in their first year, and another one said they're gonna be gaining $200,000. So
Depends on which of the charts they're looking at.
Yeah,
There's
right.
two
Seeing the
charts.
same kind of
and-
thing.
yeah, and so I'm just, from the timeline standpoint, if there were additional revenue sources we were gonna need to look at moving forward, what would be the timeline? I mean, because I think if there are any additional resources for us to look at, that timeline would have to be fall, right?
It was on the paper that I had passed out.
I think it's October
month.
Yeah.
31st.
September, yeah.
I think it's October
September
30th.
1st if you want it this year, and I think October 31st for next year.
So,
So we have a little time.
but
That will be in budgets too.
we need to kind of let all this settle down.
Yeah.
And even though they've supposedly approved Senate Bill 1, they're not finished yet with the budget.
Yeah.
And who knows what could happen between now and, they're saying that they're gonna end on the 24th now, maybe. So there's a lot to learn, but we can't really seriously discuss any kind of actions or a plan until we know what we gotta deal with.
Is there any benefit, I'm gonna look at you, Jeff, on this one. Is there any benefit to bring the taxing units together to talk
I think
about,
if we bring somebody in,
not like today, but I
no,
mean, I think
understood,
they're,
but
yeah.
if we bring in a Baker Tilly or somebody from AIM or somebody from AIC to give us a briefing on what this means as we sort through that, then I think it makes sense to invite everybody to come to the table and let one set of experts brief the whole group. So
I get concerned that we're gonna have a taxing unit look at a referendum here, another taxing unit in another school
They
district look
already have
at it. And then we're gonna have City of Richmond do their thing, and I'm concerned that y'all respond with different ways, and we're not thinking of the user here.
And
St. Elmo's.
it's entirely possible, but keep in mind that every unit will be impacted differently.
Yes.
Jeff, can you speak up? I can't.
Yes, every unit will be impacted differently. So they'll each need to make their own decision on what they need to do. Now, remember, with that said, the only entities that will have the option of raising income tax is the county and the city of Richmond. So
Right.
the threshold for doing that is a population of 3,500, and none of the towns meet that threshold. There is an option for the county to increase income tax for the towns. And so what that process looks like and how it would shake out is something we don't know yet. It's not something that's happened before. It's different from the existing current legislation. So we'll have to sort through it.
I just worry that the citizens really have no clue.
They don't, they can't.
Right, I understand.
Yes,
but,
as many legislators don't really understand.
I absolutely 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeff, if I could, for the council members and the commissioners, the AIC's having their district conference.
Just
I
watching
think
us.
it's May the 8th. But what happens at there, for those that haven't gone, is the people at AIC, our lobbyist, Ryan Hoff and David Bodor for there, and they go through all those.
Yeah.
So if you really want to hear firsthand, if you can come to that conference, that'd be great. Because they do go through all of this.
It is on May the 8th, and it's at Shelbyville.
Right.
So I would encourage anyone to go, and Bobby can make reservations to do that.
I think it's highly unlikely that we'll have definitive answers by May the 8th, but we'll know more than we know now, that's for sure, and it will be helpful. We have both the Commissioners Association and the Association of Counties has very talented staffs and access to folks not on their staff, but that are vendors of theirs, and will share all the current information as it's understood at the time. So I think this will be evolving over the next several months before we'll have a real clear picture of what's possible and exactly what's happening, what the impact will be.
Yeah, there is no doubt but what our property tax revenue as a county will be less going forward. And so, and once we know what that is, then we can deal with that. But that's going to involve looking at any budgetary reductions that we can make and looking at other options to replace revenue. But I think replacing revenue should not be the first thing that we look at. We should
Absolutely.
definitely look hard at our budgets and see what can be changed in our budgets. We are fortunate that we are in a very good financial position, but that doesn't mean we can get by without a huge chunk of money every year. And some of the figures that I've seen is somewhere in the well over $1 million less property tax revenue for Wayne County government. And all the other entities, clear down to the townships and the libraries, will be seeing cuts as well. And unfortunately, as Jeff mentioned, that not any of our towns other than Richmond are not large enough to address those shortfalls with other options. So those smaller towns, the libraries and the townships really don't have much alternative to replace the reduced property tax dollars. So it's going to be a real struggle for all entities within not only this county, but all over the state of Indiana. And how this gets worked out and how we all survive is going to be a long process to figure out.
Well, there's some other, I'll call them oddball changes for lack of a better description. Just even for the auditor's office, they've raised the threshold on some of those deductions to $70,000 for your income. So now Mark's office is going to have, I assume people will come in and have to prove my income is below 70,000 to get those deductions. So that's extra work for them. The treasurer's office, they're talking about this deferred payment up to $10,000. Having been the treasurer, I know what a nightmare that's going to be, you know, but because they can do $100 and then they can do $300 up the way the statute reads.
But that is optional.
The county has the
Right,
option.
exactly.
We would decide whether we're
That
gonna allow
is,
it.
the
The county would be.
So there's
deductions for the auditor's office is not, but that is, but it's still something to look at if people push and want to do those things.
Senate Bill 1 became a carrier for a lot of people's desires for various things.
350 pages worth.
And,
And I'm
you
not
know,
laughing because it's funny, but.
it's not
It's
funny,
sad.
but
No, it's not.
it's very dramatic. And for instance, the county north of us, there's a schools corporation that's been amended into that bill to be dissolved.
Mm-hmm.
How that happened and why, that's for them to work on up there, but there's so many things in here, I don't know how long it's gonna take for it all be sorted out. And if we ever understand the totality of it, we'll be fortunate. So stay tuned, there's a lot
Thank
to
you,
it.
appreciate it.
Come forth and a lot of decisions to be made on our part as well as all elected officials within Wayne County. Anything else to bring up tonight? Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter,
Same
Brad.
to you, Brad. We are adjourned.